Hello everyone, we are here in Australia, Melbourne, Victoria, half an hour out from the city of Melbourne at my uncle's house. Hello, how are ya? I should also let you know, it is the 3rd of January, so there has been basically a week since I last filmed anything for this vlog. Now, look, I'm only going to apologise once because I know I can definitely be an over-apologiser. I am sorry, the vlogs until we move into our own spot are definitely going to be meal piecey. There might be gaps between days, random like jumps in time because, like I just mentioned, I am at my uncle's and he does have 2 young children. And I am not about to go filming all of their house and have their kids in it, like have my cousins in it and stuff like that. That's just not the vibe. Also, why is this top itching me right now? I'll be back. I'm just going to change that. Graphic t-shirts always come in for the win. So yeah, that's my one apology. This is what the vlogs are going to be like until we are renting our own spot. So right now, for context, we're about half an hour, actually a bit more than that, on the train out from the city. The train, cycling, walking, tramming, those are our transportations because ideally we don't need a car over here at all. That would be the dream. And then just if we have to drive somewhere like on a holiday, just hire a car. That would be the dream. Keep those costs down. But also, we really want to rent an apartment in the city. That's the whole reason we're moving here. We want the metropolitan lifestyle. But we both have to wait for work, essentially. We've both got all of our paperwork and we've done as much as we can. I cannot step in a classroom until I have my teacher's registration. And the last bit of paperwork I need for that is my driver's license. And the earliest I could book in for that was like the 23rd of January or something like that. And then it takes up to 6 weeks to get it from there. So realistically, your gal might not be actually relief teaching until mid-Feb. Luckily, I've got my uncle to lean on and he knows how appreciated he is. And then Ty's kind of the same. We're just waiting for paperwork to go through, and frustratingly, it's stuff that we couldn't actually get started till we were over here. So if we didn't have a place to crash rent-free, our finances would be shot. So that's the thing. But I decided to pick up the camera today because it's a big day for us, because I'm signing up to a library today. Now, I have been reading books off of my tablet. Thank you, post-COVID lockdown panic buying me who bought that. It has been a lifesaver over the last few days. And I have decided to make this a themed reading vlog. Originally, I was going to do Australian author reads to celebrate arriving in Aussie. You guys would have potentially seen the post I put up in YouTube being like, yo, any recommendations? I did the same over on Instagram. And I got some really cool recommendations, but they're just not available in the library at the moment. So I've got some books on hold, which means that this vlog, as you've probably seen from the thumbnail, is going to be reading some of the Goodreads 2022 Best Choice Awards winners. So in terms of what I've been reading, what I am intending to read, let's talk about it. So Goodreads 2022. Look, 2022 was not my best reading year. I still read 92 books, but the vast majority of those, well, I say vast majority, almost half, at least half of those were manga, which I totally recognise as reading and as books. But for me, I normally read like 10 manga and then the rest are full-on novels. It just wasn't a good reading year for me. I had a lot going on with work and then the move and everything like that. But I'm really in the reading mood. And so one thing I want to do is like kind of catch up on the good 2022 books. And so I'm going to do that based off, for this like mini series, based off 2022 Goodreads Choice Awards. So I will admit, I have read one already. I'm sorry I didn't like vlog the reading process as I want, but I read V.E. Schwab's Gallant and I really liked it. So Gallant is about our main character called Olivia, and her thing is that she is non-verbally communicative. That's a new phrase I have added to my language. I would have originally used mute or non-speaking, but I read in the back of this book that non-verbally communicative, because you do still communicate, right? You still communicate, you just sign language. So it's not that you're mute, it's that people can't understand you. You don't call people who speak a foreign language mute, you just can't understand them. So anyway, yeah. So yes, about Olivia. Now, her mum drops her at the doorstep of this orphanage / girls' home when she is 2 years old. So she has no memory of her mother except a journal, which is left like in her little toddler bassinet thing that she is left on the steps with. And basically, at the beginning of the book, it seems like her mum is mad, right? Like, she, the beginning of her journal, it makes sense, and then towards the end of the journal, she starts rambling, and it sounds like nonsense. However, another thing is that Olivia can see ghouls, so parts of people's bodies, like ghosts, but they have some sort of physical thing to them, whether you can see just their floating head or half of their body or whatever. It's pretty indicative of when and how they died. Kind of gruesome, so definitely paranormal fantasy. And she's basically summoned to a house called Gallant, which is her family home. And then there's this sort of paranormal parallel universe thing. I don't want to go into it too much because I think it would give away the unfolding of the story, which I do think was done beautifully. In terms of how I rate this book, I'm giving it a 4 stars, not a 5. So I think it's a 4 stars because I like the paranormal aspect of it. I absolutely loved the fact that we have a non-verbally communicative main character. I've never read a book like that before, so that was some awesome inclusion for my first book of 2023. Admittedly, I didn't know she was non-verbally communicative when I read the blurb of the book, but yeah, it's okay. And thirdly, I really loved the world building in this. I thought it was quite vivid. I thought I could picture what was happening extremely well, which I always appreciate. However, the reason I didn't give it 5 stars, and I think this is something about it being a YA book, is that the I don't really know if I can call them plot twists, because to me they weren't plot twisty. This is my thing. They were quite easy to anticipate. Like, all of the signs were there that this is going to be the revelation, that this is why Olivia is non-verbally communicative. This is like, because we see the pages from her mum's journal, it's like, oh, okay, like this is why her mum wrote that. And we figure it out, at least I did, before Olivia figures it out. So the kind of reveals for me weren't super like shocking. There were a couple, don't get me wrong, there were a couple which I was like, oh, yo, that's cool. Like the inclusion, I won't spoil it, don't worry, but there's like the inclusion of art in her mum's journal, and there's a sort of thing about that. Sorry to keep it so broad, but you know, no spoiler, no spoiler. So honestly, still a really good book, a really good start. I feel like I have been rambling now for quite a while, so I'm going to finish getting ready. I'm unsure what books we're going to continue with. I have a list of the 2022 book awards from Goodreads, and we're going to just read like the winners of each category. This is kind of fancy. Alright, hopefully editing me can turn up my voice so you guys can hear me. I do not want to talk loudly in the library. What is that? No smoking or vaping? Yeah, fair. But I've found the books. I'll show you them when we get home so I can talk about them a lot more. I'll insert some clips as well so you can see the library. It's a lot smaller than the Palmerston or City one, but that's okay. I fully intend to make the most of this whilst this is like, you know, a suburban library. So to be fair, for a suburb, it's doing pretty well. But then once we get into the city, I'm fully intending on joining the like proper city library. This is just like only takes 10 minutes on the train rather than like 50 minutes on the train to get here. but it also means I can't just take out a pile of books to take home, so I'm definitely going to be using their ebook system as well. But yeah, I will cut to some clips of the library now. Alright, we are home from the library and I have some books. Now, I did mention that I wanted to read Goodreads Awards winners, and the library I went to is quite small, and so basically every single 2022 Goodreads Book Choice Award is either still on its way to the library or issued out by someone, so I couldn't get my hands on any of those. And I could look up some ebooks, but honestly I really am craving some physical books in my hand again. So these two books I'm going to set aside because they are for a different themed reading vlog I want to do at some point. I am fully intending on doing a January TBR video. It's obviously going to be coming out a little bit later than I'd normally try get them out, but it is what it is for this month. And then the rest of these are Goodreads Choice Award winners, however not from 2022. I'll put screenshots up of where of like what genre and what year they won. They're either 21 or 2020 book winners. So I'm going to try read these three in this vlog. First of all, we have John Green's The Anthropocene reviewed, which I'm really interested to read. I promise you have not just gone back in time. This is actually editing me. I've just hopped out of the shower, and previous me, the me you just came from, she rambled for so freaking long trying to explain to you what these books were about. So I'm going to do them really quick because 2023 is the year of not rambling. So I was talking about John Green's The Anthropocene Reviewed. What is it about? It is a collection of essays. It has a huge range of topics from sunsets to geese to everything in between. That's pretty much all I know about it. Personally, I'm really excited to pick it up because one of my goals, I think my goals video will be out for the year. I've decided I will do one. One of my goals is to read more like short story anthologies, collections, that sort of stuff. So this ticks that box for me. Next up, we have In 5 Years by Rebecca Sell. This is an adult romance book where Danny is a lawyer who is engaged to the love of her life. On the night of their engagement, she goes and falls asleep, and she wakes up 5 years in the future with this other man, and she has amazing raunchy sex with them. She wakes up, feels guilty, goes to a therapist, and the therapist basically like helps her through it, and Danny's just like, it was just a dream, I'm fine, thinks nothing of it until 4 years later, her best friend introduces her to the man from her dreams, and it goes from there. Okay, after that one, the last one I picked up for this is Home Before Dark. This is an adult thriller horror. Actually, I would say horror thriller. Very fine line, but horror thriller. And this is about Maggie. So Maggie lives in the shadow of her parents. Her parents, when Maggie was about 3, I think the ages, moved into this house. Ultimately, the house is haunted, creepy, paranormal, ghosty stuff went down, and bad things happened. Maggie's parents and Maggie fled the house in terror after only living there for 20 days, and her father then wrote a book about it, and that book blew up. It was huge, and Maggie is infamous because of her father's book. Then her father dies. She goes back to the said house to do it up. But she's like, you know, ghosts aren't real. She's coming to terms with the fact that to her father lied about everything that happened in the house. But things have spookily increased in tempo as Maggie realizes maybe her father wasn't lying after all. So that's my quick wrap up. I'm going to now zoom you up ahead to when I'm giving you the review for In 5 Years. Okay, hopefully that didn't seem too rushed. I'm just trying to be concise. Hello vlog. It is currently Thursday, and I have just filmed a couple of videos for the old YouTube, but I also left it up to Instagram to decide which book I read next out of these two, because your gal has finished. Where have I put all my stuff? In 5 years. I have also written a review for this, which means that I am hopefully going to be concise in my booktube review because all my thoughts have been written down. First of all, I'm using the core system this year because one of my goals, I don't know if I will have put that video up yet, but is to write a review for every book. And something that stopped me from writing reviews for every book last year is that I felt like my rating system just wasn't working for me anymore. So I'm using the core system. I'll leave a link down below if you haven't used it before. It's a really useful way where you break down everything. I'll put a picture up of what the core like kind of thing looks like. But I'm using that system. This book has come out as a 4 stars. Now let's keep this concise. This book, the blurb is quite misleading. The blurb implies, as I've already talked to you about, that it's going to be really focused on Dani's love story, her romance life, her love life. That's what I was going for. But let me tell you, it's not. If I had to rewrite this blurb, it would be something along the lines of, you know, Dani falls asleep, dreams about this man in 5 years who she sleeps with, and then wakes up. That's definitely happens at the beginning, but it's more about her and her best friend. And I feel like this might be ever so slightly spoilery, but this is what the book's about. This is what the blurb should say, is that it's a story about 2 female best friends and how they navigate life together when one of them gets cancer. So like I said, I'm sorry if that sounds spoilery, but that's what the book is about. This book is not about Dani and her fiance and the men she dreamt about. This book is about Dani and Bella getting through one of them getting cancer, and sure, the men are there, but they're very much like side things. So the main reason I've dropped a star from it is because it doesn't live up to the promise. For a long time, I was waiting for this romance thing to kick off. The last like 20 pages quickly wrap it up. So that thing I wasn't a fan of. However, I love the relationship between Bella and Dani. I think that it's a brilliant look into friendship and what it means to stick by each other's side no matter what. And I also really liked the setting. I quite liked the setting. It felt, I mean, they're just in different apartments in the city, but it felt nice. And the passage of time, so the time setting, we saw a few jumps, like Sel cut out the waffle that we didn't need to see. That was nice. But trigger warnings, I've actually left a little post-it note in here. Cancer, kind of shitty parents. The hospital setting and loss of loved ones. I'm actually going to leave this in here when I return the book. If they want to get rid of it, they can, but I think that books should have trigger warnings, and so I folded it over. It says trigger warnings, maybe spoilery. Maybe someone will find this useful. Maybe the library will take it out. But that's my thoughts on this. Overall, I enjoyed it. I just wish the blurb was different. It's more Fault in Our Stars than it is 13 going on 30. However, let's see what book it is. I haven't actually looked at it. You'll be finding out with me. Okay, I'm gonna go check Insta. Hey vlog, I honestly feel like I keep coming at you from this seat, but this is the current date, and I wanted to check in with you for a couple of reasons. First of all, we just went to the thrift store and bought some stuff, and so I've got a book haul here, but it's a bit different to what I normally do. This is for my baby cousins. I say baby. One is, I think, 3.5, and one is, I think, 7.5. So for the 7.5-year-old, I'm not too sure what her reading stage is at, to be completely honest. I've heard that she's quite an avid reader. I could have gone snooping through her bookshelves, but I didn't actually think about that. So, I don't know. I was just thinking about where I was when I was 8. I think I was reading the first of the Harry Potter series. So I got her an assortment. If anything, she can like read them when she's a bit older. This one is definitely a bit younger, which might be her style now. And then, yeah, for the little one, I just bought her the prettiest, cutest, most colourful books that, that I thought she might like. The girls are really into their pink, their princesses, their unicorns, their ponies, their tutus, their sequins. So I bought them those. And then we also went and got them a bunch of DVDs because they were only 50 cents each. Here's the stack. As a way of thanks for my uncle and auntie for like homing us for these however long it takes weeks. We're definitely going to be volunteering to babysit, and so went through and got a bunch of DVDs. Like I said, the very girly girls, so we found some girly ones, and then some of our own personal favourites from when we were children, youths ourselves as well. Oh, I also got a sign. And then what I'm currently reading, hang on, I might go get it actually. I am currently reading Home Before Dark. Let me do a quick switcheroo. You need to go through and sanitize and clean all the DVDs. But I'm reading Home Before Dark, and so far I am 108 pages in. It's a little under 400 pages. It's definitely a bigger book. And I'm liking it. I am actually surprised with how much I'm liking it. I don't think I'm quite in the right mood for it, to be honest. What I'm liking so far, atmosphere, mood, it's a vibe. What I'm disliking's not the right word, just something that isn't meshing super well with me so far is, for some reason, this main character annoys me a little bit. And I think it's just because she's so quick to dismiss what her parents experienced as a lie, but it's understandable because it's all about ghosts and stuff. Like, she doesn't believe in ghosts. Nobody thinks ghosts are real, so she thinks her parents profited off a book that's a complete lie and has changed her life forever because everyone sees her as the little girl who survived and escaped a ghost house. So I can like understand her perspective about it, but maybe it's just because it's been going on a bit too much about it, but either way, I'm still liking this. So my plans are to go sanitize the books and clean things up and make sure everything is tidy, and with the kids' presents, find some wrapping paper, and then I'll probably keep on with this. That's the plan anyway. Yeah, that plan did not like go to plan. It's now Sunday the 8th, I think is the date, and I haven't made any, well, since I last talked to you, I've made progress. But since that day, I haven't made any progress. I've still got about 150 pages left to go. And it's just a book which isn't resulting in me being completely lost in it. And not that it's putting me in a reading slump at all. I still really like the book and I'm enjoying it. But there's nothing making me want to find out what happens next. I don't know why. I alluded earlier to it maybe being a mood thing. I have become more of a mood reader as I've gotten a little bit older. And so now I'm kind of sitting here now and I'm like, I just need to finish this. Otherwise I will be in a reading slump and I don't want that to be a thing. I still have the last John Green book I really want to get to as well. So I'm going to sit here and try my absolute hardest to get through this. Maybe not tonight. It's like 8 p.m. right now. Maybe I'll finish it tomorrow, but I really, really want my next clip to be a review so I can move on. I did it. It's definitely a few days later. In all fairness, I did actually finish this 2 days ago. I've just been caught up with life admin, but I finished it, and I thought I would actually go through the CawPile rating system with you. So if you haven't heard of CawPile, it's a rating system created by, oh my goody gosh, I cannot recall who. I'm so sorry, but editing me will have given them the credit on the screen, and I'll try my hardest to remember to link a video explaining it down below. But it's basically an acronym, and each acronym you give is like an element of a book. So for example, C of CawPile is characters. You give it a number out of 10 and then you decide how you want to maths it. There is a traditional CawPile way to maths it. Me personally, I think in percentages. Maybe it's the teacher of me. So basically I give each letter of CawPile a rating out of 10, and then I figure out what percentage of 100 that is, and then assign that a star rating. Basically 90% and up is 5 stars, and then every 5% after that it drops half a star, or every 10% after that it drops half a star, I believe. So like an 80% book would be a 4.5, a 70%. I think I've got a little bit wrong, but I will have put something on up here. Like I've mentioned, I don't have internet in this little room, so unfortunately I can't go online where I wrote down my little system. But I thought it would be really fun to do the core pile system with you guys for this book, because as you know, if you've seen one of my latest, well, my latest video, because I'm trying really hard to get this out as my second video this week, which was another one of my goals. But one of my goals is to write a review and post a review for every single one of my books. And one thing that will help me with that is consistency. And I think I mentioned the core pile system in that video. So I just wanted to take you through with it. Wow. Through it with me. So we can do it together. And then this can kind of act as my review of this book. So basically, C stands for characters. In this book, I mentioned at the beginning I was quite annoyed by the character. It did mellow out towards the end. I do feel like some characters were very secondary. Like we see this almost like love interest. Hey babe, we see like this little love interest person be introduced and then like completely disappears. And I feel like that character didn't really bring much except a point in the novel which progressed the plot. Your right hand? Oh, it's behind your backpack. I'm using your backpack to sit my phone on. So I feel like the characters weren't top tier for me, although I really enjoyed the depiction of the ghosts. So I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10. After that is atmosphere, and I have to say I think the atmosphere was done really well in this book. It definitely like built up the suspense, so I'm going to give it a 9. And by the way, I feel like what determines an 8 from a 9 or a 10, I can't really tell yet. It's just gut feeling. I think the reason I'm not giving this one atmosphere 10 comes down to something I will mention when we get to E in core pile. W is writing style, solid writing style, nothing too poetic and outlandish, but decent description, so I'm going to give it an 8. P for plot. See, the thing is, P is for plot and I is for intrigue. But can I be cheeky and ask you to Google define intrigue for me whilst I'm filming this clip for the vlog? Pretty please.
Means how interesting it is.
Nah, intrigue isn't interesting. Intrigue is like... Oh, maybe it is how interesting it is. But like it's to do with curiosity more, I feel. So we were both right, in fairness. It's your interest and curiosity in the plot. So how intrigued I was as a reader to keep going. How curious I was as a reader. I cannot use the word to define the word. Intrigue is, I'm understanding intrigue as how curious I was to keep reading the book. And this is the thing that kind of, I don't want to say let me down in the book, but I suppose if I give my intrigue like a 6, because I wasn't really intrigued in keeping on going, as you saw from my previous clip. I was umming and ahhing. I just wanted to finish the book. In fact, yeah, there was a point where all I wanted to do was finish the book. I was just like, I need to finish it. So I'm actually going to give it a 5. So that's my intrigue. But the plot...
There's the story.
Thanks for your definition, hen. Plot is the story. Got it. Was it objectively a good story? Yes, but the ending did let me down a bit.
So no.
I feel like it's hypocritical to say that my intrigue was low, but the plot is decent. I'm going to decrease the writing style and the plot. So I'm going to give writing style 7 and the plot is 7. Then I'm going to go L as logic and relations. I do think that there were some decent plot twists, although some of them kind of jumped in an almost illogical way. But in saying that, I'm very aware I'm not a reader who sits there and likes to try figure things out before we get to the end. So I think it was decent. I'll say the logic was an 8. And then lastly, my general enjoyment. There were bits of it that I thought were decent, and bits of it that I obviously just was not fully enjoying. So I think like a 7 is fair. So let me add that all up. Do you have a calculator, babe? Either way, 72%.
I think I went off 50 something instead of 50.
Yeah, I think you had it wrong from your additional adding.
Yeah.
Okay, 72%. Let me find my percentage table. Okay, I found my table thingy and I'll pop it up here. Basically, 72 is a low 4 stars. So like a 4-star minus kind of vibe. Which honestly I think suits through it. You've just heard me kind of go through it. So that's the process I'm going to go through all of my books. Also, that means that I need to update you about this book. My current bookmarks, ironically, I don't think ironically is actually the word. Oh, it kind of is actually, $5 notes. Because all of my bookmarks I left in New Zealand and I'm so, like, not sad, they're still mine. I might even ask them to send them across for me. But, like, I really miss having a bookmark, so I have a $5 note. And ironically, it stopped on the essay called Monopoly. So this is John Green's The Anthropocene Reviewed, and I am so sorry. No, I told myself I wouldn't apologise. But I am, like, decently through it. I have another $5 here because one of my goals yesterday was to read 100 pages, so that was like marking where I was and my progress. But yeah, I really was fully intending on reading only part of this and then coming on here and giving you the Home Before Dark review, but I obviously got carried away. I'm loving it. I am absolutely loving it, and I wish that I had read this before reading John Green's other books, because whilst it's not necessarily all personal, like I've mentioned, he talks about Canadian geese, and lots of other seemingly random things in the world today, and some history things and sports things. Anyway, I'm getting off track. He does talk about himself decently in this, like, because these are all his experiences with everything. He's talked about intense depression, his anxiety and panic attacks, and it's made me really appreciate him more as a dude. Even though this is not an autobiography, you learn so much about John Green. So currently I can say to you, I highly recommend this if you are a John Green fan for starters, because you learn so much about him. But also I've just learned so much about history, about sports, about all these different things, and I'm loving it. Maybe it's patchy because it's something new, it's something different. It's one of the first times I've experienced essays like this. They're very short form. There's, I think, 40 essays in this entire book, and each essay lasts no longer than 6 pages, and that's like what the words are like if you're interested. And I'm learning so much. In fact, this is a book that I would like to purchase because there's so many good quotes and so many interests in here that I want to go away and research more. I'd love to have my own copy so I can highlight quotes and remember quotes, and like, this is one of those books I would reread because, like I've mentioned, I've learned so much. Some of my favourite essays so far, if I go down the contents list, are, let me find it, Diet Dr. Pepper, because I love Dr. Pepper. He talks about Dr. Pepper, and it sounds like such a mundane thing, like just talking about a fizzy drink, but it's so well researched. Obviously, I'm loving it. I have really enjoyed Jerzy Dudek's performance on May 25th, 2005, because it's football-y, but I also, so like personally, I'm like, oh, Titus is into football, so I kind of am like, oh, this could be cool and fun to share with him. Babe, do you know Jerzy Dudek? I might be saying his name wrong. So he's a footballer who became a goalie in top.
Oh, yes, I do know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Did you know he was a coal miner's son?
I didn't know that.
So, like, it's interesting. Piggly Wiggly. If you don't know, Piggly Wiggly is the chain store which supermarkets today are based off of. And those are probably some of my... Oh, and the yips. I quite enjoyed the yips. So the yip being... Basically, you're so used to doing something, like his example was Anna Djokovic, who is a brilliant tennis player, and then one day she just went to serve and she could no longer like throw the ball up. Ivanovic, thanks babe. Could no longer like throw the ball up straight and serve it anymore, and so the idea of it being a yip, like you can do something normally and then one day you just cannot do it, even if it's the most simple action, sorry. So yeah, I'm really loving this. Absolutely. The only thing The only thing is that there's only so much non-fiction and new information that I can take. So I did actually finish the final girl support group, which I will pop up here, because when I was looking at it, I was like, okay, backstory, I had it downloaded on my tablet from New Zealand. I was reading it. I wasn't reading it on the plane, but I was reading it around like the main travel before we left New Zealand. And then I just kind of forgot I had it. And then basically what happens is there's no lamp in here, and it got dark and I still wanted to read, and I was kind of having enough of this, so I picked that up and I was like, oh, I've got Final Girl support group. But that is also a Goodreads Award winner, so I feel like that works well for this vlog. Finished it. I have thoughts. My thought basically being it gets better the more you keep reading it. The ending was really good, high-paced, plot twists I didn't see coming. Definite triggers for that one though. I mean, it's about serial killers. There's lots of murder in it. There's lots of gore. There's lots of just like, it's gruesome, right? It's gruesome. I need to do some research. I want to do some research to see if they're based on actual murderers, because there were these excerpts from it. Sorry, it was on an ebook, so I don't have the cover to show you. Maybe I can find some Google images. There were these excerpts from like interviews and evidence bags and stuff like that. So they seemed real, but they could have been fabricated, which kind of added to it all. So I really, really enjoyed that book. However, it is not a 5 stars because I can't give a book 5 stars if I forgot I was reading it. We are here. We have made it. I have finished this, and I know I was absolutely raving about it in one of the previous... Wow, my fringe is wonky. I'll fix that. I should probably just go to a hairdresser. Anyway, in a previous clip I mentioned how much I was loving this, and the reality is very much the same. Still do. The essays I mentioned as being some of my favourites are still very much my favourites. I have really quite thoroughly enjoyed this, so much more than I ever anticipated I would. Oh, this is almost at like an awkward angle. Oh, so much more than I originally thought I was going to. So I highly, highly recommend this if you're interested, first of all, in John Green, right? I do kind of wish I was more of a rereader, because I think it'd be interesting to go back after reading this and understanding a lot more about him, and then reading his like other books, because I think that would make so much more sense. I learned so much more about him as a person in here. So this is an easy 5 stars for me. It's the first 5-star book of the year. But speaking of the year, I do apologise for this vlog being very piecemealy. We discovered about a week ago that they were going to show the trains, so the public transport system of the trains, but we thought it was only for a fortnight, and so that's why I've kind of just been saying like, oh, I won't bother taking them along on my little bike ride and stuff, just because first of all I don't want the vlog to get too long, secondly I'm just enjoying having that time just like Ty and I cycling around and visiting places. But turns out the trains are down until the end of the month. The end of the month! I can't get into the city unless we go on a bus, but it takes so long, and I get car sick in buses, and quite frankly, buses kind of give me anxiety. I don't use that word lightly. I just hate buses. I just hate sitting in them, not knowing where I'm going. Like, the first bus trip terrifies me. So I am not a big fan of buses, so I'm going to try my hardest in the next vlog to actually take you out places more, but I am sorry, it's not going to be the city. It's not going to be the city because I can't get to the city, but we will make our own fun anyway. So I think that's where I will leave it so I don't get myself worked up about it. So thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If there are any other Goodreads books that you think... Oh, I'm sorry, not Goodreads books, Goodreads award winners, or just award-winning books in general that you think I should check out, hit me up, let me know, drop a comment down below. Whoa, that rhymed. Hit me up, let me know, drop a comment down below. I'm going to try and remember that little jingle. That's kind of cool. And I might add it to my list, but other than that, that's it. That's it. So enjoy all the places you go in your own reading adventures. I hope you have enjoyed this chill little thing. And I'll see you in the next... Oh, I can see why the kids swing on this. I'll see you in the next video.